Hello there, Writing Workshop. Before we get into today's lesson, one thing you may have noticed in your upcoming bar in your calendar is this February extra credit discussion. I forgot to mention this in our Monday lesson, so I apologize for that, but it is open through Friday, March 5th. A little reminder about extra credit discussions as we look into this one. Every month, just February, March, April, May, I'll give you a chance to earn some extra credit in our class by doing a little bit of extra writing, extra discussing. And the nice thing about these discussions is that they're open all month, so it gives you some time to write over a longer, extended period of time. I'm not going to read through this entire prompt here this time. You can read through that on your own. But once again, what I'm looking for in these extra credit discussions is a well-written paragraph, so aim for 6 sentences or more, kind of like a long journal entry. I want you to explain how a person of your choice is an example of Black excellence. This can be someone from any point in history, including the present. You'll want to describe the person you're writing about, but also explain how he or she has contributed to our society for the better. Keep in mind, I monitor every post because this is a chance for you guys to discuss with one another. So just remember to be constructive and respectful, whether you agree or disagree, no matter what direction your discussion goes. Please make sure that you are following the respect rule. The way that extra credit's calculated, you can earn up to 20 extra credit points total on these monthly discussions. I'll give you up to 10 points for the quality of your initial post, so of your paragraph itself. Up to 5 points for the quality of your best 2 comments on classmates' posts. So notice that it's up to 5 points. Let's say you write your own and you get an 8 out of 10, right? Maybe there's an unclear sentence or two in your post, so I mark you down a little bit. It's still plus 8 points on the grade book. But then you decide to comment. Let's say you comment on 3 classmates' posts. One of them is just hey, this is great. One of them is a little bit longer than that. It says, I really like your post because, and maybe it's a sentence explaining that. Maybe your third comment is a clarifying question. I really like how you chose this person. Can you tell me a little bit more about his or her childhood? Something like that. Well, I'm going to take your best 2 comments. So the hey, this is great one probably won't get graded because it's not as detailed as the other 2. Maybe for the one where you explained what you liked about it, you might get 4 extra credit points for that. Maybe if you're a clarifying question, you might get 5 because that's a particularly well-written sentence. Well, that's 8 plus 4 plus 5 is 17 extra credit points back into the gradebook. It's a big opportunity to earn some points back in the gradebook this semester. Once again, this is open through the end of Friday, March 5th, and then a new one will come out on that Monday, March 8th. That will run all throughout the month of March. You don't have to write for this if you don't want to, but it does give you that extra credit opportunity for the rest of this month. All right, now let's take a look at day 14 here. So we are back to having regular journal entries. This one is another copy and correct one. I know you guys are doing a lot of writing, a lot of drafting, so I'm trying to limit the amount that you write in your journal today. A little hint that I'll give you on these copy and correct sentences is that all 3 of them have the exact same grammar error. It doesn't have to do with capitalization of he. The only reason why I'm capitalizing he here is because I'm referring to God, referring to Jesus. It says you can make any changes you like. They just have to retain their original meaning. So keep an eye out for that as you're writing this one. Just a reminder that journal entries do get graded as part of the 10-point participation grade each week. Since we did not do journal entries last week, I did not put in a participation grade for last week. Instead, I gave a couple of extra credit points for students who participated well in class or for my virtual class, those of you who checked into our meetings last week. Once again, I do expect you to complete journals every lesson. I also expect you to participate in class. For my virtual students, that means checking into our Teams meetings. You are free to respectfully comment on each other's posts. You're not required to do so. This journal actually builds on what we're learning today about sentence structure. So our objective for today is to correct sentence structure errors in writing. You are watching through our sentence structure notes video right now. I'm actually using the teaching that I did last semester, so there might be a little jump in this video as you're learning today. There is a practice assignment that I want you to do as well. I think I look at the directions real briefly inside of that lesson video too. You should take some time today to continue drafting your college application essay as well. I'm pretty well caught up on grading outlines and giving feedback on earlier writing assignments, so please make sure you're checking my feedback, checking to see what I said about your outline as you're drafting today. As a reminder, I've moved the final draft deadline by the end of Sunday, so we'll use our next lesson this week to do some editing and publishing, but I'm also giving you the weekend as some catch-up time to finish up your draft before it's due by the end of Sunday. That still gives me a week or so to get them graded before grade reports drop. So sentence structure notes, please watch this video. Once again, I'm going to use my old instruction from last semester, so there might be a little jump here in a moment. The handout that I'm teaching from is attached directly below this video. There are no blanks to fill in these notes. This just gives you a guideline that you can use to understand sentence structure errors. If you'd like to take handwritten notes, that's not a bad idea at all. If you want to open this up, clicking on the document will download it. Clicking view will open it up in another tab. And once again, we'll take a look at sentence structure practice in a moment after we walk through our notes from last semester.
And there it is. Sentences, run-ons, and fragments. This is just a handout and explanation of how sentence structure works in English. Specifically, run-ons they tend to be the biggest error pattern that I notice in high school students' writing, period. Fragments are a smaller error. I know some of you struggle with them, and I've noted them in the writing that I have graded so far. If I've noted that you have fragment issues, pay especially close attention to that. Comma splices, I mentioned earlier, are a type of run-on. We'll get there in a moment. By the way, all of the journal entry sentences were comma splices, so we'll learn about that in a second here. A sentence, a complete sentence, has a subject and a verb and makes a complete thought. We've known that for probably a decade now. Another name for a sentence is an independent clause, like we talked about when we learned semicolons. Here's a few examples. Tom left. Subject, verb, complete thought. Because she exercises regularly, she is in good condition. This is a complex sentence. Dependent clause first, independent clause next. It has been raining all day is a complete sentence. Be quiet is actually a complete sentence because it has the understood subject you right there whenever there's a command. He's quiet, comma, and he's very polite is a compound sentence. So those are all complete sentences, and they're properly punctuated. We reach problems when we either don't write complete sentences, that's fragments right below, or we don't properly punctuate them, that's usually the cause behind run-ons. A sentence fragment is only a piece of a complete thought, and it's been punctuated like a sentence. So it might look like a sentence, but it's not a sentence because it's missing something. Think of a fragment as a piece of something, it's a piece of a sentence. Fragments can be phrases, or they can be dependent clauses, or really any incomplete grouping of words. Check the following examples to see how fragments are commonly formed. Check this. You get a sentence that says, Anne walked all alone. That's a fine sentence. But then you have a separate sentence that says, to the store. This is just a prepositional phrase that's been spun off as its own sentence. The way to fix that would be to merge that back to the sentence. Anne walked to the store all alone. Or Anne walked all alone to the store. One sentence. Check this one. Some people will just use a participial phrase. They'll start with a verb and treat that as a complete sentence. Walking to the store, period, she saw a car accident. So walking to the store, it has a verb, walking, and a prepositional phrase, to the store, but it's not clear what the subject is in that sentence. I think it implies that she, whoever this lady is the subject of the sentence, so we just need to merge those together too. As the woman was walking to the store, comma, she saw a car accident. Fixes it. Same thing in this third one. Because she exercises regularly, she is in good condition. Because she exercises regularly is a dependent clause. They cannot stand alone without an independent clause. It just so happens that our second sentence here is an independent clause. So the way to do this, again, merge them together. I would use a comma after regularly to make that sentence. Another thing I've seen that's not on this handout for sentence fragments is just including a subject. So it might be a sentence that says something like, a beautiful sunset over the ocean. It might look like a sentence because it has a subject, a beautiful sunset, and it has a prepositional phrase, something that looks like it should come at the end of the sentence, over the ocean. All it's missing is a verb, is. A beautiful sunset is over the ocean. A beautiful sunset appeared over the ocean. Something like that to complete that sentence. So while some people will only include verbs, like this participial phrase here, I have seen people who only include nouns as well and need a verb to finalize that sentence. There are several ways to correct fragments. We've looked at a couple already, but we should look at a couple of common ways. One is to connect the fragment to a complete sentence near it. Just like Anne walked all alone to the store before, just merge those together. Same thing with walking to the store, she saw a car accident. That's a way to fix it. Another thing you can do is remove words, more unnecessary words, to make the fragment a complete sentence. Because she exercises regularly, she is in excellent condition. That can be merged together, or you can just get rid of because. Get rid of that subordinating conjunction, turn that dependent clause into an independent clause, and now you've got two complete sentences. She exercises regularly, that's one. She's in excellent condition, that's two. Another thing you can do is just add words to make the fragment a complete sentence. Because she exercises regularly can be she feels great because she exercises regularly. And then you can still leave she is in excellent condition right there too. This would be the fix that you have to do if your fragment is missing a subject entirely or missing a verb entirely as well. The bigger error that I've seen in our writing and in my freshman writing, to be fair as well, are run-ons. A run-on occurs when two sentences are run together without proper punctuation or connecting words. One type is called the fused sentence. That's just two sentences that have been mashed together with no punctuation. Another type is the comma splice, which occurs when commas are used between two sentences without any connecting word, such as the fanboys conjunctions. There is another type of run-on that they don't mention in this handout, and it's simply run-ons that are too wordy. It is possible to have a run-on where it's not two sentences run together, but it's one. It just has a lot of confusing phrasing, or just simply put, too many ideas, too many words in one sentence. The way to fix run-ons that are simply wordy, if I ever leave a comment that says wordy run-on or run-on due to wordiness in your writing, it usually means that you can spin off some of that phrasing into another sentence, or you can get rid of unnecessary words or phrases entirely. Here's how to fix fused sentences. Check this. Joe was happy about the raise he felt like celebrating. It feels way too fast when you read that sentence, and I think you guys can detect that we need a pause after raise. We can fix that using multiple methods, which we'll look at in a moment. Same thing with the comma splice. Joe was happy about the raise, comma, he felt like celebrating. It might seem like a comma is a good way to include a pause there, but because there's no conjunction here, we can't simply use a comma by itself to fix that problem. Several ways to correct run-ons. Most common ways, there are really four good ways to fix a run-on sentence. For one, the easiest way, if you've got two complete sentences, split it into two complete sentences. Put a period between the sentences right after raise. Joe was happy about the raise, period. Second sentence, he felt like celebrating. That's a way to fix fused sentences and comma splices too, is to split them into two sentences. You can also correct run-on sentences, fused sentences at least, by connecting two related sentences with a comma, followed by a coordinating conjunction, one of the fanboys conjunctions, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Check it. Joe was happy about the raise, comma, so he felt like celebrating. Another one that works here is and. Joe was happy about the raise, comma, and he felt like celebrating. Notice that we can leave that comma if it is a comma splice. We do need to include a coordinating conjunction to make it work. I'd like to note here too that because is not one of the coordinating conjunctions. What you can do is if you are going to use because in a sentence like this, you'll need to get rid of the comma as well. You'll never need a comma before because or other subordinating conjunctions. Another thing you can do is use a semicolon. We learned this in our last lesson. If you've got two related sentences or two related independent clauses, you can connect them with a semicolon instead. It would be just like using a period here, but you don't have to capitalize he. Joe was happy about the raise, semicolon, he felt like celebrating. The fourth way, I meant to say five. There are 5 ways to fix run-on sentences. A run-on may be corrected by connecting two related sentences with a semicolon and a transition word. We learned these as conjunctive adverbs in our semicolons notes. It's the same thing. Use a semicolon, but then you can include a conjunctive adverb to fix the run-on as well. And the last thing you can do is restructure or rephrase the sentence. Oftentimes you can correct run-ons by adding a dependent clause signal word to create a complex sentence. Common signal words are subordinating conjunctions because, if, although, when, who, which, since, before, after, really just depends on what you need in your sentence. Because Joe was happy about the raise, he felt like celebrating as a way to fix that sentence. Joe, who was happy about the raise, they use a noun clause here, felt like celebrating. You are free to restructure sentences entirely, reword them, as long as you keep their meaning. And that's a way to fix run-on sentences too. We do have a little activity here. It says label each word group as one of the following: fragment, run-on, or correct. There are some complete sentences in this list. Be prepared to explain how to correct each of the fragments and run-ons you've identified. Take a moment. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see these on one screen. Almost. There you go. Take a moment. See if you can do these on your own. I'll go over answers in just a minute here. Feel free to pause the video and do this part on your own, and then I'll cover the rest with you. Alright, I hope you were able to use your notes to help you solve these sentences. Again, some of them are correct the way they are, so a couple of curveballs thrown your way. Let's discuss these together, and then we'll do our practice. Although Mary has been my best friend is a fragment. Mark that with an F. The issue here is the word although. This is a single dependent clause. An easy way to fix this is to get rid of although. Mary has been my best friend. Another option is to add an independent clause to the end of this sentence. Although Mary has been my best friend, comma, lately she's been a jerk to me. Number 2, no one I know watches that television show, comma, I can't believe it, is a comma splice. If you mark that as a run-on, that's fine as well. What I would personally do here is use a semicolon. No one I know watches that television show, semicolon, I can't believe it. Obviously, multiple fixes, that's just the one that I would do in this scenario. Her husband loves to cook, comma, however, comma, he does not like to clean the kitchen afterwards. This is a run-on, and it's the easiest fix possible, because all you have to do is pop a dot above that first comma. They use this conjunctive adverb perfectly here. All we got to do is punctuate it properly. For conjunctive adverbs, it's semicolon, adverb, comma. Tim started his new job last Wednesday, comma, and he really likes the boss is a complete sentence. They have properly used a comma and a fanboys conjunction here to make this a compound sentence. Number 5, I have a hard time understanding her lectures, comma, when I talk to her one-on-one, comma, I understand her fine, is a run-on sentence. Specifically, it's a comma splice. Personally, you could use a semicolon here. Personally, I would split this into 2 sentences. I'd change that or exchange that first comma for a period and capitalize when. Mary signed up because she thought the training would be interesting and help her on the job. That's actually a complete sentence. It's borderline run-on-y because it feels long, but it's not grammatically incorrect. If I were to change any wording on this sentence, I would probably work on the latter half. Mary signed up because she thought the training would be interesting and assist her, or something like that. On the job might be a bit redundant, but this is not necessarily a run-on sentence. Number 7, meet me after class, comma, I want to talk with you about the upcoming test, comma splice once again. What I would do here, I would actually exchange that comma for a because. Meet me after class because I want to talk to you about the upcoming test is a much better sentence. Number 8, the one who looks like a military officer but acts like a spoiled brat, that is a fragment. This one looks a whole lot like a sentence, right? Because it's got a subject, and it looks like it has a verb, looks right here. The issue here is that, and we have acts as well. The issue here is that we're just missing some key words in this sentence. The one, I would actually just get rid of who, right? Or in exchange one. This guy, or the guy looks like a military officer, comma, but acts like a spoiled brat. Notice that there were multiple things we had to change in order to make that fragment work. Sometimes that's the case with really nasty sentence fragments, is that you will need to reword things and add punctuation, a comma in front of that but. Number 9, although she has studied very hard, comma, she is still worried about the midterm exam is a complete sentence. This is an example of using a dependent clause first, an independent clause second. Whenever we do that, we do need a comma after the dependent clause. Number 10, one of the best ways to improve your writing, period, is to read and analyze what you read. That is 2 fragments in a row. All we got to do is merge them. Get rid of the period and lowercase is, and you're good to go. Number 11, it has been a long time since I've been to the beach, comma, I'm looking forward to the trip. This is a comma splice once again. Personally, I would use a period here, split this one into 2 sentences. And number 12, when you have finished your homework and are ready to take a break, that one is a fragment. This one's actually just a single dependent clause. When you have finished your homework and are ready to take a break is a compound verb in there. I would rephrase some of this sentence. I would leave when you have finished your homework. I'd put a comma there because that's a dependent clause. then I would say you are ready to take a break. Add a subject there to make an independent clause, and that completes that sentence. I hope these are pretty obvious fixes for you. It's a lot easier to identify sentence structure errors than it is to fix them in your own writing. So that's what we'll practice next. Let's go back to our lesson. And I just want to get you started on your sentence structure practice here. But let's take a look at sentence structure practice here. It says the following 10 sentences all need fixing. Label each sentence as either a run-on with an RO in this blank right here, a comma splice as a CS, or a fragment as F. There are no complete sentences on this list. You do need to fix all of them. Then correct that sentence in the lines below it. You'll need to rewrite it in a way that makes it grammatically correct. Each sentence is worth 1.5 points, 0.5 for identifying it, and then the additional point for correcting it. So for instance, the first one is candy is delicious, it is my favorite food. You'll want to label that as a run-on, comma splice, or fragment, and then fix it using any means necessary. You are allowed to make any changes you like as you fix these sentences. The only thing I'm going to ask is that you retain the original meaning of the sentence. So instead of switching out candy for a different subject, right? Don't switch out candy with broccoli. First of all, that doesn't fix the error, but I want to make sure that you are maintaining the meaning of the sentence just in a way that makes grammatical sense. So after you identify these as run-ons, fragments, or comma splices, by all means, go ahead and correct them in the lines below. As I have been doing with grammar practices, I will be highlighting things to show you where errors still exist and leaving commas or comments as well.